Hey, it's syndicated radio talk show host, author, singer Al Cole, welcoming you to another edition of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. I come from CBS Radio. My shows are nationally syndicated, and I've helped pave the way to treating women, guys too, with the dignity that they deserve. And I do that with my show, People of Distinction, syndicated through large networks around the whole world, actually, with Apple. Apple, the main unit here, Apple's iTunes radio network under their professional news talk division, featuring CBS shows, BBC, Fox News, NPR, C-SPAN, everything. Best talk in the country around the world is on Apple's iTunes radio network under their professional news talk division. And also, I have my alliances nationally with people like Ariana Huffington, the founder of the Huffington Post, and with her Thrive Global network. Ariana is a really key figure in today's world with getting business leaders together, millions of them, with Thrive Global, and we love that. Also, I have my People of Distinction Humanitarian Awards events, national events that I formulated back in 2013 in New York City, honoring humanitarian and creative unsung heroes. Since then, I've honored over 100 national and international unsung heroes in New York, Capitol Hill, with members of the U.S. Congress, U.S. Congressman Rob Whitman of Virginia reaching out and hosting my events at the Rayburn House Office building in D.C., great events in Atlanta and Florida, too. Go to peopleofdistinction.org. You can read up on everything that I do, hear my shows, and see all of those great unsung heroes over the years as well. Plus, I'm a media consultant. Yeah, coming from CBS Radio, I've helped a lot of professional broadcasters over there to talk good, put their messages in really gripping ways to the public. And I always have clients who engage in my media consulting as well. People who are going to be doing a lot of talk, who are doing a lot of talk with products and services that they have out there that they're moving. And maybe that talk is live performing talk. Maybe it's talk on AM, FM radio. Maybe it's TV talk, podcasting talk. The whole kit and caboodle. I get people to understand what media is really about. Major mass media. And also digital media. And they're two different beasts, really. Digital media, internet, that sort of thing, podcasting. Well, you know, a lot of it revolves around networking, professional networking. I teach people how to be successful at professional networking, contact development, understanding formats and different types of formatics within those formats, everything, so that they can be profitable at what they do. They can make a profit. They can be entrepreneurial. And many people are, they're caught in that boat where they have great products out there and services. They just don't know how to move them in the proper way. That's where I come in as a media consultant and help them out. If you want to email me on any of the things that I do, email me at alcoholic at gmail.com. You heard me right. That's ALCOLEHOLIC at gmail.com. And I really want to thank my CBS radio listeners for coming up with that handle, alcoholic. Seems like from day one, my listeners have been saying, Al, we love what you're doing there, brother. In fact, we're hooked on it. We're alcoholics. And coming from CBS Radio, one other quick thing here. I'm also a New York Times bestselling author with Chicken Soup for the Soul. And Chicken Soup for the Soul is distributed by CBS's Simon & Schuster. So we keep it in the family that way. Coming up, a guy who is writing about our human family through his experiences with our human family. This guy's name is Robert Maxim, and he's got a book out there called Legacy. Now, we all want to formulate our legacy in life, or at least we would like to if we thought about it. Sometimes we live in a hustle-bustle world, and we never have the time to think about what do we stand for. What is the mark that we want to make? Maybe not on generations, maybe not nationally or internationally, but just maybe on some of the people who we love the most. How it can be a guiding force. And see, legacy is not necessarily after you die. And people, they're saying, oh, yeah, his legacy was this, her legacy was... Man, I'll tell you, you are formulating your legacy every single day as you live, and you have that possibility to touch the lives of many, many human beings in this world. You could even say thousands. And somebody might say, Al, wait a minute, I don't even know thousands of people. Oh, yeah, but see, legacy is an energy as well. It is not just, okay, so I know a few people, and I'm passing on this legacy and helping them, but also what they pass on to other people and other people and other people. And it doesn't have to be through talk all the time. It could just be that beautiful glow that you've given people through that beautiful love energy that you have. Robert talks about love, the story of love. Get that. And I know you listeners, my listeners, I know them. They love love. They love to hear about love, but not just love. As, okay, well, we love and all of that and everything's rosy. But what about overcoming some of our emotions, managing our emotions? See, love can bring us down sometimes, too, if we mismanage love or even misunderstand love. Robert can help us to understand love a little bit more through his own experiences. And this guy's been around. And he can help you to develop that legacy that you want to develop too, and are developing sometimes unconsciously. You don't even know it. Robert will put that awareness focus on you through his autobiographical novel, Legacy. And you're going to love it. I guarantee it. So stick around, people. And I want you to order this at Amazon.com. And then you can go to Robert's website as well. Check out all the great work that he's doing there. Now, this is going to be a different one. Okay, now, I can say it, and I might say it right, Gaetan.com, but see, you don't know what I'm talking about if I put it that way. So let me just say it outright with the letters. R, as in Robert, G, as in girl, all right, A, Al, E, everyday, T, Tom, A, Al, N, Nancy. And you put it all together, and it might sound something like RobertGaetan.com. And Robert will tell us why it's that. Apparently, that is his actual name. All right, and there's a story to that, too. Robert Maxim, we know him by, and we're going to find out a little bit about Gaetan as well. This guy has a tremendous legacy and a lot to tell us on People of Distinction. And he was brought to me by Parchment Global Publishing. And if you've got a book out, man, you want to move that, they are the movers of books in our human family society. Go to parchmentglobalpublishing.com. Welcome, Robert, to People of Distinction with Al Cole. How are you today, Robert?
Great. Thank you for having me on your show and for this opportunity.
Yeah, we're going to be talking it up here about legacy, your legacy, and how it can be passed down to create other legacies as well, story of love as well as other things. Let's start out with the that interesting website name that you have, and explain to my listeners why it's so hard to say here. Argatan.com. Where did that come from, Robert?
Well, the family has an Italian background. Gaetan is an Italian last name from the city of Gaeta in southern Italy. So about the age of 11, I came to the States, and immigration had the great pleasure of putting my first last name as a middle initial and the family's second name as my first last name. So that's why there is a Robert Maxim Gaetan. And for the second website, I called it Our Gaetan.
Look at that. We love stories here on People of Distinction, and now we're going to get the story of your legacy through your book. And you describe it, maybe first and foremost, as the story of love. Now, as I said, we love love on People of Distinction. Tell us why love is so important to your legacy, and particularly your book legacy, Robert.
Well, Al, ever since I can remember, since almost being a baby, I asked myself, what is life about? How should life be led? What is the right thing to do? And how is it that my actions not only affect others, but affect myself? I was 1 year old and I was having these thoughts. And I was trying to figure this out. But there were really no answers, at least not readily. So I searched here, I searched there. I came to the States in 1969, originally from Cuba. And here in the States, I began to educate myself in the sciences, philosophy. I am a musician, a concert pianist. So I threw that in there too. Music is part of love as well. I worked for NASA for a couple of years on the Mariner, Viking, and Pioneer missions, also Voyager. And after taking that huge breath of knowledge, I said, well, do I have enough now to put together an answer for those questions that I had when I was a child? And I realized, it's not enough. There's something missing. And then something happened in my life, Al, where I began to have, shall we say, very powerful experiences. You could say celestial experiences. I began to see things that many have seen, have corroborated with others that what I have seen, they have seen as well. So there is confirmation. You could say that heaven is something you never forget, and it touches you deeply. But it wasn't just the viewing, Al. It was also the lessons that came from it, the words, the way of life that I saw. That's what I was looking for. And these visions continued even to this day. It's been 40 years since I've had them. I've had the privilege, should we say, of visiting other places, other worlds, getting to know how other civilizations thrive, how they live, what they believe in, how they practice life. And I've put all of that together, and that became legacy. Now, I could have written the book based on the actual words said by individuals, but a novel touches the heart because the novel puts in the motions, puts in the phrases, the expressions, things that just a plain operating manual will not describe. And that's what brought legacy to life. The basis for legacy is a message of love and hope for a calm and productive future. It is a manual of how to live, how to believe, how to have conviction, based on sincerity. Sincerity is truth. Truth is wisdom. And wisdom is love. And we have to part with judgment and be sincere with ourselves. We must understand ourselves and teach ourselves and love ourselves first and foremost, not torment ourselves, but treat ourselves with respect. Otherwise, how can we be honest and loving to others and then much less to that creative essence? How would we ever understand what surrounds us if we don't understand what is inside, what moves us? And in the case of these experiences that I had, I'm a very doubtful person, so I had to go out and prove it. Legacy is full of this evidence, and that evidence can be found in breadcrumbs throughout our history, throughout our theology. It is right there in plain sight. But there's more. There's also scientific and philosophical principles in this novel series that will just blow your mind.
Yeah.
Right down to how the atom works. Hard evidence that even proves it. And as a matter of fact, some of this material is now being published by Dr. Edgar Mitchell's research organization. And if you remember Edgar Mitchell, was one of the Apollo astronauts. Mm-hmm. That information is now being put into their research material and is being published. So the word is beginning to get out there. Life is not just entertainment. Life is a devotion. Life is to be given to others. We must give all that we have for others and serve the elements that surround us. That is the purpose. And we will certainly come back. We shall return, as I have. These are lessons I've learned over the span of this and several other lives in times past. We all have. We can all learn from this. How to do it, how to have these experiences, how to learn from them. This is all in legacy.
Look at that.
It will walk the reader through the steps I followed. It will show the mistakes I made. And Al, I will be talking about sincere. I will be sincere. Al, I made a lot of mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
I believed a lot of, shall we say, individuals with experience that did not have them. So I took wrong steps, but I built myself back up, and I kept my beacon on sincerity. And sincerity is what proved me right in the end.
Wow. I'll tell you, you have said so much in that span of time about your experiences with life itself. You've gone from just the everyday experiences of another human being on this planet in terms of, well, I'm working here, I get up in the morning and I drive there and do my job and touch the lives of maybe a few people and this and that. You're a world traveler. And even beyond this world, you indicated. You have seen a little bit of what Carl Jung was calling the collective unconscious. And collective is actually the terminology here that really is people of distinction stuff. We all have it. We are collectively bound in terms of the spirit. Whatever that spirit of that baby that came out when we were first born and said, wow, I'm here, I made it, I'm alive, greatest blessing in the world. That spirit pervades all of human beings, and you've seen it around this planet. And let's explore that a little bit. That's one of the things. And then you even indicated maybe you've seen it on other planets. Whoa, okay, we'll explore that later. But for right now, with your legacy, both your legacy as a human being and your book legacy, you've indicated that you've met a lot of people around this world. Give us a little bit of a travel guide here, where you've been, maybe a couple of things that you've learned here. And, of course, you've learned more than just a couple, but, of course, on People of Distinction and all national broadcasts, we have some sort of time constraint. Wish we could talk about it all, but give us a couple of examples of some of the very deepest experiences that you've learned in your travels, Robert.
Well, travels to Italy, France, Spain, Argentina, Canada. I will soon be visiting Australia and give conferences. I usually give 2-day conferences followed by 2 days of personal one-on-one meetings with individuals. I don't charge anything for any of these services. I incur full cost, including food and the reservation of the conference hall, because that is what we should be doing. Only those that are able to attend and pay should not be the only ones limited to the knowledge. So the number one issue that I have found out there, Alan, has been a state of confusion, a state where they don't feel appreciated as a creative spirit. People feel detached. They feel lost. They really don't know who to go to. They have tried so many things before, and they have been, unfortunately, I'm going to use the word waylaid. So the biggest thing that has woken people up in my travels has been sincerity. Mm-hmm. It's amazing how well, we can act as our own teacher. If people don't realize it, that the number one advisor is within. The kingdom is within. The answers are within. And if we would only search within, we would find all answers. So how often do we trust what we hear within ourselves? Rarely. But how often do we trust what others say? Most of the time. So the first person we need to get to know and be sincere with is what's inside. And that is the number one message that I have taken to all these conferences around the world and will continue to do so. It has changed many lives. These individuals now are able to have experiences like I do because they have cleaned their mental level. They're beginning to see. They're beginning to have their experiences much like I did. So it's beginning to spread. And this knowledge is, shall we say, fairly unique. If you go to the website or you read Legacy, you will see a lot of pictures, a lot of drawings. And it's amazing how many emails I receive from these people that I visit where they say, I saw this too, but I never knew what it was. And now they have confirmation.
Isn't that something? Now, when you're talking about one of the things that you mentioned at the beginning of this last explication was a feeling of being lost that you've recognized in many, many people. And I understand the first relationship that one has is with oneself. And to recount some of the love that they've given, some of the love that they've received, spend some time alone with oneself, alone time. And I'm a proponent of that. Why do you think that so many people are running away from themselves in today's world, particularly from your experiences, Robert?
I believe that the world is programmed this way. This is a regular operation, regular way of living. This is the mold. When we're children, we're more open to seek within, to research. But after a couple of years, the world takes us over, and now we are cubbyhole thinkers. This is how we should be. Boys need to play with cars, and their color is red. Ladies, they play with tea sets, and their color is pink. And it just goes from there. Everything needs to be according to a specific plan, according to a specific society. And that's the point where we lose that contact, we lose that knowledge, and the confusion starts. Because there's a part of us, Al, that's calling to us. And it's saying, no, that's not right. This is the way it should be. But then there's the world in us now saying, no, this is what you need to trust. This is what you see with your own eyes. And therefore begins that inner conflict. And that inner conflict leads to fear. And that fear leads to anger. And that anger then leads to other issues and concerns, and sometimes even mental diseases that need that not be. But it all starts from putting the brakes on that inner spark that is always trying to guide us. But yet, we're programmed to turn our face away from it. That little spark is the voice of love itself. It's the creative spirit. And in many theological beliefs, it can be known by several names. All of them I respect. So I will say, let's say it's the voice of the infinite, the voice of God, the voice of holiness, whatever it might be. That's a good place to start paying attention to it and to learn from it. Because it is there, and it is real. It is more real than this physical world. And if we were to look at this physical world from a scientific point of view, then this is something that I share with everyone I speak to. because putting things in perspective is very important. We think we're here in a physical environment, and then we leave this physical environment to some ethereal environment. If we saw the amount of space there is between atoms, it would shock us. The actual comparison I can make is the space between the sun and Pluto, if not further beyond, is the space between atoms. There is so much more space than solidity. It's amazing to even consider. And those atoms, as we begin to now probe into string theory and other dimensional theories that are coming in, we realize that those atoms are not really here. Those atoms, and this is scientifically proven, these atoms are appearing in this dimension, disappearing, and then coming back, and then disappearing again at a very fast rate. So are they really here? The answer is no. So are we really here? The answer is no. So where is the spirit then? Is the spirit the same thing, the same energy as that atom? The answer is yes. Now, we take that a little bit further and realize that, as you mentioned before, we are all united. We are all as one. And whether it's an atom or a human being or a star or a galaxy, it's all made from the same energy. And therefore, we are all united in all things, all elements, all forms, all thoughts, all beings. That's what makes us brothers, and that is what we must understand so that we can conceive just what love is.
Absolutely. And also where we get our heroes from and the examples in our human lives that influence us the most. Now, you were talking about that sense of loneliness, of not being able to connect because it's in our society. I'm going to make a quick comment here, Robert, and see if you can fly with this. And this goes out to you, my listening audience, my people here. Where are you getting your heroes from? Well, most of us get our heroes from what we call major mass media. All right, so I come from major mass media, CBS. However, that's not where I get my heroes from, and I never have. I have a talent for that. But I'm more of a creative artist than I am a broadcaster, even though I'm at the top of my career as a broadcaster. But books and music, my music and my books, mean absolutely more to me than the heroes out there in major mass media. When you have heroes that now reflect your values, we have to understand that term. It's a big, potent term. Values. The people who we know the best, our mothers, our fathers, starting with the spouse, really, our own children, and the uncles and the aunts, and maybe that best friend too. These are the people who formulate our heroes, or should, in our society. And then we don't feel so lonely. We don't feel so isolated. How can you touch electrons running through the TV screen? You can't. You might think that you're moved by them and touched by them. But like Robert mentioned, there's more space between atoms than there is closeness. Get closer to the people who you know. In terms of the depth, I'm not talking in terms of the everyday talk. Hey, did you see that pass that was thrown by that quarterback the other day or something? No. How about talking every once in a while about death with the people who you love the most, and how death can transform itself into life again, and that even when it seems over, it ain't over. And life is a compendium of going here, going there, reaching out here, reaching out there, and formulating relationships, maybe even in what we call outer space. You're going to find if you start talking that way, first, with some of the people close to you, they're going to say, you know what? I thought about that too. You've been thinking that way, huh? Wow. Yeah, everybody thinks that way on the inside because we're made that way. We need to rise above sometimes some of the societal constraints, some of the things that are laid upon us by major mass media, some of the things that are laid upon us by, just what we call entertainment. Is it really entertainment and entertaining to run away from ourselves? Every once in a while, let's consider entertainment to be the deepest recesses of our soul and what that can offer to us. Am I on the right track there, Robert?
You're spot on, sir. And what we call an escape mechanism comes to mind. There's plenty of it to go around in this world, and that takes our attention away from more important inner matters that we should be looking at.
And that's why I want you to order that book. Robert Maxim's book, Legacy. And it's autobiographical, it's a story of love, and everything else that Robert's been talking about here on People of Distinction. It's available at Amazon.com. And I want you to go to this elusive website again, rgaetan.com. And I'll spell it out, RGAETAN.com. Robert, this has been a wonderful excursion here. And I want to take it out with some possibility thinking. I end all of my shows with possibility thinking because it's a way to encapsulate not only the information of any interview that I do, but particularly the inspiration, and in this case, even the spirit of this interview. What if, possibility thinking, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30, 40, 50, 100 years from now, maybe next week, if we're really lucky, the legacy that you write about, and the legacy that is that unconscious, collective unconscious of our human family, what if it comes together and all of a sudden, like new DNA sparks, we are connected to not only this world in the way that we think we are, but we're connected to life in the way that life really has demanded it. Only we have not been conscious of it. But now we're really conscious of that. The depth, and maybe even astral projecting around the universe and seeing how other life forms, maybe how they work. And we could do that. The internet proves that we can do that. That was a miracle 50 years ago, 40 years ago, even 30 years ago. Miracles do happen. If that miracle happened, where now exponentially we're raised in consciousness, what kind of world would that look like, Robert, that it doesn't look like now?
It would be out of this world, wouldn't it? Imagine all of us understanding each other, not reacting to one another, but seeing through our eyes, not what the other person, what we believe the other person is, but what we are. Imagine all of us catching ourselves the moment that we have a reaction, all of us being kind and loving, all of us being sincere with each other, helping each other. Can you imagine what this world would be? It would be, well, I have seen it, I have lived it in other places, and I can say that is our future. That is our future legacy. That is where we're headed. And that is the message that this book is trying to give humanity. The manual for moving forward, for getting out of the negation and the reactionaryism that we have, and go with something that has been proven, that has been confirmed. And perhaps, as readers read Legacy, they will see for themselves, yes, this I have seen before, this I have heard before. And they will all come forward and also be voices to spread this knowledge and unify this world.
Absolutely. Boy, I'll tell you, great interview here, and it's deep, and I wish it could go on, but all great things must end here on People of Distinction because of time constraints. And I'm going to cap it off here with a couple of cents of my own to underscore the great sense that our guest, Robert Maxim, is making in possibility thinking and has been making throughout our show today. And again, this goes out to you, my listening audience. When we talk about possibilities, we're talking about actualities at the same time. We're talking about things that have already happened. Everything that has happened in our universe has already happened, I believe. And what we're waiting to do is to be aware of it all. Now, some people might say, yeah, but gee, how can we be aware of it all? Well, maybe we can be aware of it all in that epiphany of that L word again, always coming back to love. When we love, and I'm talking about real love here, people, when maybe, with our spouse, with that beautiful look in somebody's eyes, and now we go deep and we don't just kiss the lips, we don't just comport with the bodily form, we kiss the consciousness at that point. We are sharing consciousness. Now that is probably the most daunting and most elevating and most elaborate aspect of all. Nobody on this planet, to my knowledge, consistently shares consciousness with the rest of our human family. But if we did, if we just shared consciousness maybe for 10 minutes with an animal, a dog, we would be transformed forever. We sometimes diminish other people, but boy, if we could feel the feelings of other people, if we could feel that consciousness, experience that consciousness, and experience that spirit potentially within that other human being, we would say, I've experienced the mind, the spirit of God. However we define God. Now that is enough, that's powerful right there to be exponentially greater than we are and what we think we can be. Love, it really is the answer. And maybe if we invent love machines, love tablets, whatever, as silly as it sounds right now, things that can induce the greatest love and do it without inducing any sort of harm to anybody. We're not talking about drugs necessarily. We're not talking about being under the influence of and being, maybe put to the side by a police officer or something. Oh, man, DWI, what is this? You're drunk. No. It's a natural sort of high that only love can bring. And in that way, we traverse the universe. And all mankind and all womankind and even that dust speck on our favorite suit that we just, gratuitously flick away, even that has a meaning, someplace in our universe that we will discover. And that's what it's all about ultimately. The love discovery and the continuation of that love discovery, and to put it on the forefront of who we are in our consciousness. And I know that we don't do that as much as we should. Love, love, love. You can't get enough love, and you can't explore love enough, because there are millions, billions, trillions of permutations to just that four-letter word, love. That is our future. That is possibility thinking to the max, people. And that's what we talk about on People of Distinction with Al Cole. No matter who comes through our gate here on our show, it always ends up with some sort of love phraseology. And with Robert Maxim, our special guest here today, it was easy. Talking about love through his legacy, his book, Legacy, and the story of love, basically. I want you to run to Amazon one more time, order that book, and one more time, go to his website, rgaiatan.com, and you can order the book there, and you can see everything that Robert sees through his eyes there. Maybe even make contact with Robert. Thank you so much, Robert, for being my special guest here today on People of Distinction with Al Cole. This has really been my pleasure. Thank you so much, Robert.